passing some of the modern housing developments of this thriving city, and on our way we stop at Victory Square, which is a monument to the defenders of Leningrad during World War II. It's one of the saddest chapters in military history, for nearly 1 million people, all of them civilians, were killed during the siege of Leningrad, a most tragic time. And the feelings are really evoked by this impressive subterranean chamber.
The death rate in this city because of starvation was 5,000 people a day.
Oh my God.
So all people could receive was this small piece of bread which weighed 25 ounces. And this could hardly be called bread. It was 40% of it was made of bark and cellulose. So in the siege years, people were eating carpenter's glue, some of the materials used for the repair of the apartments. And they say that people who had enough supplies for repairing the apartments were the survivors, because they had mineral oils, they had carpenter's glue, and they made it into some edible grease. So the city was in a real desperate situation because it was permanent bombing, shelling. It lost 10,000 buildings. And we have even now in the city the world's largest memorial cemetery, where they brought people who died in the siege, who lost their relatives and died themselves. And that cemetery has about 600,000 people buried in common graves. Because what happened to people, they were so weak they couldn't even walk in the streets in the wintertime. They would faint and freeze to death. So the history of the siege of Leningrad is one of the most terrible pages in the world history, modern world history. While in other places of Russia people were fighting, this city was just slowly dying. But with the rest of the country fighting, the city had to survive by itself. And so this survival lasted for 3 years. So this is the memorial hall. It shows some of the, for example, the lamps people were using in their apartments, the handmade stoves, because the apartments were not heated, they froze through. People slept in their winter coats. They did not have heating, they had no water supply, they had to go down to rivers and canals to dig in the ice for water. There was no transportation, and if they went to the place of their work, they would need to walk for several miles, having practically no food at all. And this was done together with bombing and shelling.
No other country suffered as much as Russia during World War II, for it's believed as many as 20 million Russians were killed during the war. The greatest loss of any war in the history of our planet. And it's commemorated here in this tremendously inspiring memorial at Victory Square. The country lost 10% of its population during the war, and 25% of its property was destroyed. But no place was hit harder than Leningrad, because 1/3 of its population was killed during the siege. Now called St. Petersburg, it's a different city nowadays. It's been rebuilt completely, of course. You don't see any of the scars of war damage. The war ended 50 years ago, and now the Cold War has ended. Russia's not even a communist country anymore. It's a country in transition. It still has a basic socialist structure with government ownership of most means of production, but much has been privatized, and there is a real feeling of entrepreneurial growth and capitalism, and the marketplace is taking over here in the streets of St. Petersburg. It's an exciting place to visit nowadays. And a comfortable home base for your visit is the St. Petersburg Hotel. It's a large hotel, and it's got a lot of good services inside. There are several restaurants, there's a theater inside, there's a bank for changing money, and this is where our tour is located for the 4 days and nights that we're in St. Petersburg. Breakfast and dinner is included when you stay here at the St. Petersburg Hotel, and the food is quite good. The breakfast spread is a huge buffet, and dinner is mighty satisfying.